How long have you been dancing?
I think it's like over 10 years now.
10 years?
Yeah, I know. When I first started, pretty much it's something that you do on your own sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all your mates are not into tango or anything like that. But I had, previously to that, I had like done ballroom and salsa and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got dragged into ballroom dancing at university.
Right.
One of the tall girls where I was working needed a partner, and I was very reluctant to go, but I went and I enjoyed that dancing. And then I met a girl in salsa, and then she got me into doing tango. And I have to admit I was pretty cocky at the time. I thought I was a really good dancer. And I think it's Carlos after the tango movie. He was doing a workshop, and he did this little rosque. And I thought, oh yeah, I could do that. And I just couldn't do it. I just thought, what the hell? It's just so small and I can't do it, right? And then since then, it's just like tango just had these amazing abilities of just little small movements. But the feeling that you get from the movement was just quite incredible. I never really experienced that in any other sort of dance. And so I got hooked on that. But yeah, very long journey, I have to say. If anyone's going to get into tango, it's for life. I think that's what like Alicia Pons would say. Tango is life. So yeah, but you'll discover things in tango that will just keep you going, or you'll have that dance with someone, and then they'll just keep you going again and again. But I think what everyone agrees with is that after a while you spend so much money and time that you go, look, no, I can't give it up, right? I've just totally invested in this, yeah. I might not feeling great, but yeah, you just keep going. So yeah, so that's been my journey so far.
But you said you got in because of a partner and because of the movement. Mm. But how did you feel about the music?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, listening to tango music and being brought up in New Zealand, it was very unfamiliar. As a child, I was more inclined to rock music, and I've been to a few metal gigs and stuff like that because that was the kind of music I was brought up with. And with the tango music, it's something that I had to develop over time. So I was more interested in the movement, and then just recently, I've discovered like the complexities in tango and how you can dance in the different, like on the beat, or like you were saying before, melodies, or little bits and pieces and stuff like that. And yeah, that was a real eye. If I can recommend anybody, it's with Alicia Pons in her immersion class, as she describes how each of the different orchestras and how you can dance to each of them. And so for me, it was the musicality that came afterwards. I quite like the funky moves and stuff like that at the beginning, I was really into the sort of nuevo and, the cicadas, colgadas, but it's just only just now that I'm beginning to really appreciate the music. Because it's difficult, it really is. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, was it Trulio?
Trullo, yeah.
Trullo? Yeah, wow. That music, is really complex, but once you get it, it's just incredible if you can get it. But I think that really takes time, is the musicality. I think you have to be just extremely patient. You hear the song over and over again, and then you know how the phrases work and stuff like that, and then you can start incorporating what you've learned, and then put it into the dance.
Yeah, I guess that's why it's a journey. You step in a bus and then you ride it for a while and then you go to another bus.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's accurate, but I have come across other musicians and they go, oh, tango, like they have a greater appreciation of the music and stuff like that. I guess for me, I didn't really come from the musical side of things. It was just the feeling of the movement, and when you have that connection with certain people, it's spellbinding. So yeah.
Because you mentioned connection with people. How do you see that?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. It's just it's quite rare in some cases when you do find someone that you really connect with, and I think that's what makes it so magical and spellbinding. I mean, like, that was back then, I guess. As you get better and better, you can experience that with more and more people. But when you start, starting out and stuff like that, there are certain people that you can dance with and really feel that sense of connection with them. And it's just being able to move at the same time, being able to breathe at the same time, that sort of thing. Yeah. So really, I don't think any other sort of dance really has that sort of thing. So yeah. So that's what makes it so special.
Because one of what do you see as because you come from other dances, well, if you compare them, how do you see the difference there?
Well, I mean, they're all fun in its own ways, right? Mm-hmm. Like with salsa, the music, the vibe, the crowd, and to be honest, it does attract a younger crowd, so so it's quite vibrant and pumpy and stuff like that. But I don't know, dancing for 9 minutes is a bit hard because you can only do so much. So that's fun. It's fun and it's easy to get into. You only really need to know the couple of steps and then you're on your way. So it makes it really accessible. There are other dances I've enjoyed, is like swing, and that's just like a happy-go-lucky sort of a dance. Bao bao, which is very kind of similar to tango, which I've just been learning, and that too is another form of being close and being able to do the sort of the footwork and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I got to a stage where I was just in tango, and that's where it is.
But because you've done like a lot of ballroom, you said, there's probably the best place to compare it for you, kind of how, as a dance, how one dance relates to another, or is different than another.
Oh yeah, with ballroom, it's it's structured, and I mean, you can have fun doing ballroom and stuff, but it's very it's sequenced. You learn the whole dance pattern as you do it. Whereas tango, she has no idea where you're going to move. Yeah. So every move, it's kind of like, if you can do it can create sort of a mystery for the woman. And even though I sometimes hesitate or doubt, a lot of the women still enjoy it. So that's what I find. So it's kind of good that way. It just opens up a lot of possibilities of which way you can move.
Yeah, each step is a possibility.
Yeah. Instead of there are really nice movements in other dances that you can do, and but that's kind of like taught. You sort of you're going to do sort of spin or something like that. Whereas with tango, it's like if you can get to that level, you can just play with it. And you can do little short movements. You don't have to complete the whole movement. So it has that sort of little bit more, I don't know, sort of flexibility to it. There are times you can go through the motions of tango and stuff like that, and you do have to catch yourself out that you're doing that sort of thing. But it really is kind of up to the music as well. It's the music that can create all these different movements, and sometimes you've forgotten a move for ages, and then the music just brings it out. It's like, oh wow, I remember I used to do that and this. So for me, it is really important matching your dancing with the music, and also some of your partners as well that you enjoy dancing the waltz with, or malonga or salon or whatever like that.
Yeah, because that's, especially when you just come to tango, it's very hard for people to understand that you just don't want to just dance, or that you have those specific partners for specific pieces of music.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when you first start off, you kind of think, well, I'll master it within a year or something like that, and it just doesn't happen that way, because there's just so many avenues and opportunities, and in the dance itself. I mean, when I started in Auckland, and I was dabbling with that, and then when I went to Melbourne, it was actually a pretty good thing, I guess, moving to Melbourne, because I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any of my friends to distract me, so purely Melbourne Tango was my community. So I constantly, I went 3 or 4 times a week for the next 3 years, but also the Wellington Tango Festival was a great opportunity to accelerate your learning as well, learning from the best. And with that in itself, I guess I was fortunate enough to really establish my tango in that sense. And really the goal was, for me, was like when I first moved to Australia, I actually went to Sydney first and went to the Sydney Festival, and I couldn't dance with half of the women there. And I don't think they wanted to dance with me either. So my goal was, I'm going to go back to Sydney and dance with those women. So being able to dance with some of those women, yeah.
Do you feel that it was justified?
Well, it takes you in a different route, really, I guess, so... I mean, some of those women in the city community are not there anymore. And like, I have to call them up, do you want to go out, for a dance? And they go, oh yeah, okay. And they appreciate it because they've been out of tango scene for a bit. So yeah. So it was great to be able to reconnect with those women that had sort of drifted away.
But couldn't you dance with them because you were not a city dancer, or because you're from New Zealand, or your level was not up to skills?
Well, the level wasn't up there. Yeah, that's what it was. And I didn't really know anyone. I mean, to be honest, and I think most people probably think about this as well, is that what I started to learn is that you do have your favourites, and you do dance with people that you're familiar with, sort of thing. So, you hear stories like in Argentina where you had the maestros. They would turn up to a dance, and they would only dance with 1 or 2 people. And I didn't, I thought, well, why would he do that? But then as I did more, I kind of realised, there's just some dancers that he really wanted to dance with. I mean, there's that argument, and then it was something that he wanted to do to enjoy his night. And then there is the other argument that if you want more people to get good at it, then you have to kind of spread yourself around. So, yeah, to raise the level of tango.
Yeah, but you're on night out as well, so
yeah.
not on duty.
Yeah, that's right.
That's always a hard balance.
Yeah, it is.
But so, how long have you danced in New Zealand before you went to Melbourne? So you danced for 2 years before you went to
Yeah, it was very, very off and on.
Yeah.
And I was like really not confident at all. Like if I would go to Mulunga, I had to have a couple of glasses of wine just to get onto the floor, because it's not an easy dance. No, and just walking, right? Like you're so scared of stepping on your feet. You do that, and I think everyone can relate to this. You do that waddle, that duck walk, right? Because you're too scared you're going to hit your partner. And that one for me was a major breakthrough when you could just walk in a straight line.
When did it happen for you, Phil?
That was in Auckland, and
so was it in the first year or the second year?
I think it was after my first year, then I started to click. And I think it was something more that I kind of found for myself. It's like, man, if I'm ever going to do this, I've got to just go for it and trust the woman as well. Yeah. So, yeah, okay, you might dance with beginners and stuff now today, and yeah, you might step on their feet. But you know that they're a beginner and that will happen, and so you're pretty careful about it and stuff like that. But you got to step on their feet. I was the kind of one, right? So, and then it's just subtle tips you give to them. Okay, you just need to extend a little bit, and it makes a huge difference. I find when you can just get those sort of things. And you're not stepping on their feet at all. So, as a male lead, sort of learning how to dance at the beginning, you're so worried about that you're going to do something wrong with it's going to, I don't know, feel uncomfortable for the female, or the follower, I should say, that your dance is just not very nice. It's not, and you don't move in a natural way, because that's what tango is all about. It's moving naturally.
Yeah. And
so you're just compensating all the time, And then you find, I've got to just move naturally into that movement, and some of the principles that they teach in tango actually comes from sports as well. There's something like Alicia was talking about, like bouncing the ball and stuff like that. And then I clicked, because I used to play basketball, and then I realised that as you move forward, as you're bouncing the ball, it's the same movement that you do in tango, right? You're not, in basketball, you're not trying to go like that in basketball, you just you drive and you're determined and you just follow through on it. And that's the same thing that happens in tango as well. So that was a big breakthrough for me, was that just kind of be confident in yourself and be gentle with the woman, but give her the guidance that, you will lead her through this. And so you've got to sort of provide that sort of, I don't know, that energy or confidence through her that you're going to move in this direction, and so she'll do it. And I think that was one of the things that really had to really focus on it now.
Because that's the breakthrough after a year, about.
Yeah.
What would you call your next breakthrough?
Heroes. Yeah, very difficult. I mean, I'm surprised I can do them now. Like, when I first was learning them, I was like, how on earth do you, pivot on one foot and not fall over, right? And is it up, is it down, is it hips, and like this? And that is just purely experience. It's just something that you just, they can teach you the concepts, but you have just got to practice that, And that's the same with another breakthrough for me was volcatas and stuff like that, sort of getting that genuine feeling. A lot of teachers will teach you different ways and stuff, and sometimes it won't click. A teacher might tell you this is how you do it, and you go, didn't get it. But there are the other teachers, they'll teach you that little, I don't know, kind of movement into the volcata, and you go, now I've got it, sort of thing, yeah. So, it's not to sort of think that you're not doing it wrong, I guess, in a sense. It's just you need to get the right instruction to get it.
That's the benefit from different teachers sometimes.
Yeah, you've got to learn from different teachers, not just from the one. Otherwise, what can happen is that you'll limit yourself to other students that you dance with from other studios. You won't understand how they move. So it's quite beneficial to, and I know there can be a little bit of politics in the tango community, but all the teachers have something to offer in some manner or form.
Even around the world, if you dance in different places and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, next year is going to be my first year to go to BA, so I'm looking forward to actually finally doing that. And I've only kind of really liked dance in Hawaii. It was quite different, but all the teachers, they all bring something different in the game.
But like you said, sometimes the same thing clicks because they say it's slightly different.
Yeah. Oh, gee, there's another breakthrough I found. And I was really, really, really lucky. It was with the Jermaine brothers.
Twins.
The twins, when they came to Melbourne. And unfortunately, there wasn't that many people at the class. But for me, I was lucky, right? It was like almost a private. And I can't remember her name now, but one of the Jermaine's partners. And so I was dancing with her, and all I was doing was I think it was called the salada. So you pretty much step to the side and just walk straight ahead.
Yeah.
And every time I did the movement, I thought I was doing it right. She goes, no, do it again. So do it again. No, do it again. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And she goes, you got to hit center. You have to hit center. And it's so weird because that little change, and then you go back and you hit the center, and it's like bang. You know, like now you can see how from hitting center, it opens up so many more avenues or movements that you can do, and that was quite special. Yeah.
I think that's one of the interesting thing about tango, that it's, you're not mimicking steps, but you're setting a certain course, and like I said, you have to hit the center, or you have to certain angle, and if you change the angle, the possibility changes.
Just slightly, yeah. If you just change it slightly, it limits you. Yeah, it's and I guess in this instance that's what tango is in some instance. It's kind of, it has that precision in it. I mean, yeah, but that's not my way of dancing. I like to be kind of experimental and creative and stuff like that. So yeah, I might not hit the center all the time, but I just got to be aware. Okay, if I didn't hit it, or I couldn't hit it with my partner, then what else could I do here? That sort of thing. So yeah, and that in itself, requires a lot of courses, teaching and stuff like that to expand on those possibilities.
In practice.
Yeah, practice. Yeah.
How do you feel, like you've danced extensively in New Zealand and in Australia? Do you feel there's a difference in the scenes and in the culture and the dance?
I would say that there's a difference between dancing in your local community and then dancing away from your local community. Yeah. I guess when you're dancing in another city and stuff like that, it's just fresh and you don't really know anyone, and you're dancing with people you never danced with before. So it gives that a little bit of novelty. And when you're doing dancing locally, the thing that's really going to work, and I've seen this with the group in Tauranga, is that you really have to form really good relationships with each other in order for it to work, in order for you to keep going, advance. And it means being, forming these relationships outside of tango as well. If you want to get good, you've got to have that tight-knit group. Otherwise, it's really quite difficult. And I think in a sense, when I first started learning, I was just really myself. I sort of missed that troop that was present before. They sort of went in different ways. And so you only go off and on, but you really need to build that strong community in order to really sort of progress in your local area. Otherwise, yes, you will have to go to other cities to improve.
You got different cities, of course, but do you feel there's a style or quality difference as well amongst New Zealand and Australia, for example?
It's a hard one to pinpoint. I mean, I do feel there is a difference, but I can't explain why. I think because New Zealand is a smaller community, they're kind of much more appreciative.
Right.
Yeah. So, and like from Melbourne, there are a lot of good quality dancers, right? So there is a bit of competition. There are a lot of teachers in Australia, so the level, can be quite high. Really. There's just a lot. We're spoiled for choice in Melbourne. So, but it is still a bit hard though, I find, because you still need to have that community that can carry you through.
Because you tapped on Tauranga, which is a really new community actually.
Yeah, they're doing a great job of it. Well, I feel anyway. So
you've danced there?
No, I only just got to meet them at the Wellington Tango Festival. Yeah. There was quite a few of them that came down, and not only do they social dance, and they got that enthusiasm, that bug,
Yeah.
And there is a little, I can sense there's a little bit of competitiveness among themselves as well, in order to just try and get it and get better at it, and to work with, both the guys and the girls being able to work with each other. But really, it's getting together afterwards, having that hot chocolate or that drink, and just laughing with each other and stuff like that, and bouncing off each other. That I think that group will stick with each other for a long time and will produce quality dancers.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like they're doing a great job.
Yeah. So I think that's the key, because you could be looking at, well, I need to get the numbers up, but I think the focus, and it is evident in what we can see at Tauranga, that it's really building the relationships in your community.
Yeah, because I think that's a small difference quite often for people coming from other dances, that they learn to dance and they just want to dance.
Yeah.
Where Milonga is a social event.
Yeah.
Where you come and chat and hang out with your friends, so you have that into the community,
Yeah.
and then have a few dances.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's a great thing about, and that can be the great thing about Milongas, in the sense that you can have that dialogue with people. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, like, if you go to salsa, you dance with a girl, but you won't chat to her.
No.
And you'll only become a part of their community by going a lot of times, and you become a regular face, and then slowly, gradually, you'll be part of the community. But I think with the tanking community, you can get there a lot faster, because you have the opportunity to be able to talk to each other. But of course, you tend to talk to more females than you do males.
Yeah.
So, and it is something that you kind of have to remind yourself that there are guys that you should be talking to as well. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then you can have that level of competitiveness with each other, and I'm going to be better than him, or that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, and especially now that I'm learning, it's just what sort of feeling that you can give to someone in your dance, and we're all in here for the long haul. Whether you're at this stage or that stage or whatever, we're all in here together to do for the long haul.
Yeah, I think that's why it's a journey, because sometimes you step out and then someone might pass you a little bit, and so there's no point in competing.
No. I mean, you get to there is going to be a level of competition when you first start, because you want to be that.
Yeah.
You want to be like this, and you hope to be able to dance like that. So it starts off like that, but then you realise later on, it's just what you enjoy doing. So and you bring a unique flavour to the dance, and someone else will bring a unique flavour to the dance. So and that's what it should be all about.
In regards to Milonga, how do you feel about the whole invite procedure, Cabaseo?
Oh, the cabaseo. Oh, well, that's I was going to say about controversial things before. When the cabaseo works, it works well, right? But I think for us New Zealanders and Australians, and especially those who are beginners, they may not have learnt the cabaseo, or they see some other guy tap on a girl on the shoulder and goes, "Oh, I was just trying to cabaseo," and he goes and tap her on the shoulder, sort of thing. And I'm like, so what hope do I have in doing the cabaseo now if the guys are doing that sort of thing? And I think I think us as Australians and New Zealanders, I think we have to just kind of chill out a little bit. Yeah, use the cabaseo because it is a really good way of inviting a woman to dance. Instead of just like, hey, you want to dance sort of thing, and don't really give an opportunity to say no. But then again, some people just may like being approached. Or, sometimes I like for women, especially, for women to come and ask me for a dance, You
do?
Yeah, I do. Because at times when I go to Milongas, I just go and I'm not in the mood, I got to get out of that sort of, that space, that funk, and then someone come on, you want to dance? And they have a dance with her, and then, I'm back into it again.
Because especially now you feel like you've grown into a more connected person, don't you feel that the cabaret becomes more important, so you have a choice if you actually want to engage in that embrace?
So you mean to say you want to do a cabaret so you can find the right person?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, when you have the option, yeah, but sometimes you don't have the option. So, yeah.
I think that's a great benefit that that for both parties, that she doesn't feel obligated or being dragged to the floor.
Exactly. So I still feel the cabaret is something that it is a good thing to use, but then you can't be too pedantic about it because a lot of people don't actually do it.
Depends on where you are, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's some people, like I was talking to one of the women at the festival, and she just found that cabaret to be too formal. It shouldn't really be formal. It should just be a nice way to invite someone for a dance.
Yeah, if it clicks with someone, because usually the people that feel the problem are people that specifically want to dance with someone they're not going to dance with.
Yeah.
Where I don't dance the same if someone asks me.
Yeah.
Because if I ask, I'll go through motion.
Yeah.
Depending, but that's something that can happen.
Yeah, that's right. You can.
Where if I hear the music and I look at someone and they look at me at the same time, then it's a full click. You start
absolutely.
very differently.
Absolutely, but there's always that danger of where you only dance with certain people, sort of thing.
Not necessarily, because the nice thing is that it also allows you, without fear, to invite someone new.
Yes, if they know it.
If they know it, but I assume if they don't look at my way, that they don't want to dance with me.
It was one of the things that we learned as when I was doing the taxing.
Yeah.
Is that sometimes it was just so hard to cabaret a woman, and because they would sit themselves in really difficult positions for you to be able to do it. I mean, a good tip for women is don't sit so close to the dance floor, because he has to cabaret you across the dance floor in order to get you on the floor, right? And so your chances of getting asked is kind of limiting. You gotta put yourself in a position where men can look and ask you for a dance. And that's funny thing is we kind of found it wasn't really happening. And I don't, and we do get women who say, oh look, I never got asked. Well, you kind of need to put yourself in a position where you can be asked. But also too, I also think too, like it also depends on the woman's demeanour as well. If she looks like she's not having a good time, she won't get asked.
No.
Yeah.
There is a difference between the cabaseo and staring someone down to invite, because then you might as well verbally. There's some guys that stand there and literally stare a woman down. You might as well verbally ask them then.
The pre-persistent and just trying to lock it in. I've seen that happen, but
I've heard stories of women as well that they said, well, the guy comes to them and said, well, I was trying to cabaseo you and you didn't look at me. Well, that's the whole point of the cabaseo.
I know someone like that. Yeah, why didn't you dance with me? I was trying to cabaseo you. She didn't want to dance with me. That's why.
You missed the point.
But I think it can be misinterpreted, and it should be misinterpreted that it's a formality. It shouldn't be seen as something that's like a formality. I think it should be seen as an easy way for a woman to accept or deny
reject
a dance. Yeah, so that's how. But boy, they got to work on where they sit. If they're sitting like right next to each other, that's awkward.
So how do you solve it when they sit next to each other?
Oh, I don't know what the solution is. I mean, it's really difficult. And I think I do remember there was a case when that happened, and so the guys couldn't cabaret them, so they just went up and asked them.
Yeah.
It was. I guess maybe that's the only way you can do it.
Well, if they do look, I just usually try to wait for someone to pass in front of me. So one of them is blocked out.
All right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you should team up with someone.
Well, you simply wait for someone to dance, to pass, whatever. Get some kind of block in the way.
Yeah.
So they know it's only them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's different ideas about that kind of thing, and because, like I was saying before, we are Australians and we're not Argentina. I think we should try and apply it, but don't be so strict about it, I guess, in a sense. But display that it does actually work.
Yeah.
You know.
You've done the festival now how many years?
I don't know, maybe I actually did my first festival before I went to Australia, and that was about 10 years ago.
Right.
And then I think I missed a couple years in between, and then I think it's been a steady 5 or 6 years, and been helping out with the taxis and stuff like that.
Yeah, so how do the taxis work?
Well, it's just to make sure that the classes, the workshops are balanced, there's the right number of male and females, and also to that other night on the Malongas that we try and get around to every woman so that they can actually get a dance, because a lot of women do sit down and don't get asked. So yeah, and that's usually within the first 2 hours before the performance that we try to do that.
Does it help?
I kind of seem to think so, and I think a lot of the women are appreciative that we do go up and ask them. So, and you can be suddenly surprised, I mean, like, with those sort of type of events, I guess, in a sense, you should really be open to dancing with someone new, because you might be really pleasantly surprised. And a lot of the taxi dancers I would say, go and dance with that woman over there, and go, oh, really? I don't really want to. I guess, you need to, because she's been sitting down for a while, all right. And then come back up to me afterwards and go, wow, she was amazing, so, yeah.
Which is strange, because then so apparently it's a nice dancer, and still they don't seem to get the dances.
No, yeah, I know. It kind of happens that way.
So
it's familiarity, it's like, I know that person, I've danced with them in the past, and I know it's going to be a good dance, so I will dance with them. But I don't know about this other person, so I might not try it.
But would that, at that point, be that maybe they didn't connect during the workshops, or did they maybe look grumpy that night, or?
Well, to be honest, there are a lot of women in the Malongas. So,
How do you see the Tango Festival as an event?
Oh, it's a fantastic, personally for me, it's a fantastic event, and I always enjoy getting compliments from people and saying that they've really enjoyed themselves. Due to the quality of the teachers, to the location, where everything's central, all the workshops and everything like that, to the people volunteering their time to look after the door and doing the shuttle runs and stuff like that. And as well as the people who attend, they all love being there. And and you sit in the shuttle, you're chatting with people like that, or outside, or you have dinner together, or we have a drink together afterwards. And I think that's what makes the Wellington Tango Festival so special, because it has a really, really nice community, and people are really dedicated to make it work as well.
And that's quite different from other festivals?
Yeah, it is. I mean, one thing, it's really expensive, you see, and I think that's one of the things that in the Wellington Tango Festival...
The festival, or getting there, or
No, it's just the whole planning and process and everything like that is extremely expensive. And they have such a good team in Wellington that they're able to get the sponsorships or figure out, how to price it all and cost it. And I think that's why it's been such a difficulty in Australia, is to mimic something like what Wellington has, because it's such an expensive event to run. So, I mean, I remember going to the Sydney Festival, and fantastic teachers, This was years ago, but you had to trek across town to get to the next workshop. You know, it was really quite difficult.
Yeah, that's I think that the venue makes it very unique.
Yeah. They've got a really good setup.
You know, do you have to reach a certain level or?
Look, yeah, to be really honest, as a woman who's going to this festival, you really have to be careful in the workshops that you choose. Yeah, because there might be some workshops where the men are not that good or not good enough so that you can then learn your part. Yeah, so you just got to be careful with that. And I know there has been some talk about that in the workshops and saying, well, you know, this is an advanced level, but there isn't advanced students, you know, so therefore we can't teach the move. You know, we have to go back to the basics, and now the class, instead of being, you know, some dynamic sort of lifts or balaos or whatever like that, is just now coming. It's all about just how to pivot on the hero because the level is not high enough. So it's just those sort of things that you have to be aware of if you're going to choose a workshop, especially for a woman.
Because that's a general issue every year, of course, is the level with not necessarily the level of the student. The student has a choice to go to that. So is that a problem with the students, or is there not enough available at lower levels maybe?
I think there are. Well, I mean, there are classes. Like I would say that someone's who maybe a beginner or intermediate. I mean, there is a second string for the beginner, and the intermediate is enough for those who who develop in a tango maybe over 1 year or 2 years, the intermediate level. But to make that jump from intermediate to advanced, well,
there's upper intermediate.
Or there is upper intermediate. But yeah, each level is quite, there is quite a gap.
Yeah.
In how where your tango should be at. I mean, for example, the immersion that I just did with Amusia Ponds, I could never have done it if I didn't have my core, way of moving in tango. Because you have to kind of learn that in order to see how you can put it into the music, and it has to come instinctively. Yeah, you can't work out how to move and then dance to the music. It's impossible.